All right, gamers, a new study just came out that might suggest having a bigger brain makes you better at video games. Well, I'm going to find out the truth as I sit down with Alan Boyle, the science editor behind MSNBC.com. Okay, so Alan, you wrote an article called Big Brains for Video Games based on a study. What was the conclusion of that study?
What they did is that they looked at the size of certain structures in the very center of your brain, and they tried to get people trained on these video games, gave them 20 hours of training, to see whether there was a link between brain size and how well you picked up a video game. And they found out that there was, that the volume of these structures, if it's large, then you pick it up more quickly. If it's smaller, then you don't do quite so well.
Okay, so explain to gamers what the striatum is.
It's deep within the brain, underneath the cerebral cortex. And people call it the learning machine because it's devoted to different functions that are involved in learning, memory, all sorts of essential functions for your brain. Very important.
So if you were to take an MRI of somebody's striatum and it was bigger, they'd have a better chance of being good at a video game.
That's what the scientists did, and that's what they found.
Now, did they find any connection where the more video games you play, the bigger your brain can get, or the smarter you'll be?
Not in this study, but in another study, they did have people play video games for a while, and then they looked at how the shape of their brains changed, and they found that the part of the brain that really stores all the information, the cerebral cortex, did grow thicker the more you played video games.
And today there's hundreds and hundreds of genres. There's so many different types of games. Somebody might be good at strategy and terrible at first-person shooters. Did this take genres and stuff into account, like what type of video games somebody with a big striatum would be good at?
They used a game that's specifically designed for research called Space Fortress. And this is a puzzle game. It's a little bit like Asteroids, but you have to keep track of 5 things that are going on at the same time. So puzzle games like Bejeweled would be the kind of game that they looked at in this study.
So what else could I do, because I want a larger striatum, right? I want to get up my gamer score. What other activities can I do to give myself a larger striatum to thus be better at video games?
Well, there have been other studies that show that musicians, people who play instruments or are appreciative of music, tend to have a better grip on this striatum thing as well. And so if you wanted to get better at Guitar Hero, maybe you should try learning how to play the guitar.
Do you think it's fair to be able to use it as an excuse, like I have a smaller striatum, thus you beat me at Forza?
I don't think that sounds very cool. Just maybe say, just you wait, I'm going to build up my brain in 6 months and my striatum will whoop ass on yours.
Exactly. I can see taglines changing now. No, they also studied the hippocampus. And I found this interesting because that's usually associated with memory. And I always find that people with good memories can memorize maps better, where the good weapons are, how to get to A to B quicker. But they found no connection with having a bigger or more volume in your hippocampus to being better at video games.
Right. In this case, the hippocampus didn't make a difference. And it may be because of the type of game that they were playing. It may also be because the centers that have to do with skill learning and reward and punishment play more of a part in how you pick up a video game.
So what's your advice to gamers that just want to get better? You work a lot with science, you work a lot with the brain, and you work a little bit with video games. What's the advice to the gamer to go, you need to do this to just be a better gamer? Eat Cheetos, go for a run?
Well, I mentioned learning the guitar. Any sort of learning skill that tests your mettle, whether it's a new program or read a book about something you've always wanted to learn about, is a good idea. So not just video games, but in life, keep your mind open and keep learning.
Well, there you have it. You have an edge up if you have a bigger striatum than your opponent. Alan, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You betcha.